Hi, my name's Anna Souren, and this is my leadership development plan. Growing up, as long as I can remember, I've always wanted to be an art teacher. I was that kid in preschool when someone asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I said an art teacher and a mommy. And over the years, really, very little has changed for me. I've always loved art, and I knew that I wanted to share my passion for the arts with other students and help them develop their skills and get the tools that they need in order to become even more amazing artists than they already are when they come to me. I had a lot of really amazing mentors and role models along the way, starting out with my own elementary school art teacher who always really encouraged me and made me feel special in the art room when realistically, I'm sure there were a lot of other really talented kids, but that gave me the courage to keep going and keep pushing and become the artist that I am today. In high school, I had several amazing art teachers who were also great leaders in the field. They hosted different clubs and activities that I was always really eager to participate in and be involved however I could. And then going into my senior year of high school, I was able to have an internship where I shadowed my elementary school art teacher, and I really got to have a hands-on experience at such a young age of what it takes to run a classroom, to write lesson plans, classroom management. And it was a great starting point for me going into my education at Penn State, where I majored in art education and minored in deaf and hearing studies. So I'm going to start out by talking about my own leadership philosophy, which I have framed around these four values. So starting out with just important beliefs, I really believe in equal opportunity in the classroom. So this looks like several different things, but especially when it comes to recognizing that not all students have the same background. So if I give a prompt of something that students can work on at home, I always recognize that some students might have an abundance of art supplies and paint and all different kinds of things that they can work with, whereas some other students might not have the same thing. They might literally just have lined paper and a pencil, if that, depending on their situation. So I always do my best to come up with really fun and exciting projects within the classroom that students might not have ever worked with before. They're going to be so excited to get to participate in. And of course, that being said, I work to scaffold my lessons so that they all have the chance to build their skills from the ground up and feel confident in what they're doing. Um, the same thing goes for accommodations in the classroom. Once you start to get to know all of the little individual learners that you have, it's so important to me that I make sure I meet their needs, I meet them right where they are, and figure out how I can best support them to achieve their goals and have them have a really successful project. The next core value is transparency, and this is something that I found relates really closely with the authentic leadership model. I always show up every single class, bringing my A game, putting on a big smile for the students. But that being said, I'm also very vulnerable around them. Students have a tendency to get really hard on themselves if they can't make something that looks exactly like the example or exactly like what they had in mind. So I very often remind them that I make mistakes too. I cannot draw anything unless I have a picture in front of me. So I'm always pulling things up on my phone to draw from. And the couple times that I try to draw it from my head, we typically have a really good laugh about how it looks nothing like what I was trying to draw, especially when it comes to animals. The next value is relationship building. So building genuine connections, building trust. And this is really what helps students grow as artists because if they don't trust you, if they don't think that they can be vulnerable, they're not going to try their hardest. They're not going to put themselves out there. If they're afraid of being criticized either by you or by their peers. So it's not only important that I build a great relationship with students, but also that I build an environment where they can be vulnerable with each other, that they're taking risks with their art, they're trying new things. And then the last thing is just passion. As I mentioned before, I've wanted to be an art teacher ever since I was little. So it is truly my passion to share my love for arts and see what all of my little artists create. So next I'm going to dive into my action plan. While most of my strengths I feel aligned with the authentic leadership model, I really read into that section and I identified some areas where I could improve to kind of round out that skill set. So that starts out with my goal of organization. My first action is discovering new organization and planning apps. So in the past, I have juggled writing down notes on my phone, writing things down in a physical planner, keeping track of things on my computer. And I find that if it's not all in one place, I have a tendency to miss things or kind of get jumbled. So, action one is immediately looking into some different apps that would live on my phone down in the main toolbar at the bottom so that it's easily accessible. I can jot things down whenever I need to. And let's be real, we always have our phones at our side. So, whenever I need to reference it, it would be right there. The second action is going into the upcoming summer semester where I would be using these plans. Something that I want to focus on is hierarchical planning. And that is because when you have so many different things that you're balancing between work, school, and your home life, you kind of need to prioritize. So if you sit down and you have so many tasks that you have in front of you that all need to be done, you need to know where to start. And it becomes so easy to be overwhelmed if you don't have a really solid plan. I also am someone who loves checking off small to-do items first. So, you know, how about I get a load of laundry done before I jump into this assignment and things that are productive, but probably don't need to happen before things with upcoming due dates or higher levels of importance. And then my third action will be kind of a month into the semester where I'm going to begin assessing the organization strategies that I've been using. So, about once a month, I'll be checking in and thinking about how practical has this been to use? Have I been staying on top of all of my assignments and other things going on in life? Am I able to blend those things together as opposed to having one separate list for work and a separate list for school and so on? So overall, I just hope to become more organized, especially when it comes to decision making, planning, and execution of ideas. I'm sure this is something that everyone could use some of in their lives, but especially right now, I'm going into wedding planning, so there's always a lot of things that I have to consider, and I'm have a lot of open emails and people I need to make sure that I'm responding to and making sure that I don't lose track of when deposits are due and um, if I've reached out to a vendor, if they've followed up with me, and all of those different things on top of all of the responsibilities that I already have for school and for work. So my second goal has to do with confidence. So the goal is to build my confidence in my speaking skills and just kind of my sense of self-worth. So the first action is practicing contributing in meetings. Something that I've always been stressed about is, am I saying something that is valuable enough to make myself heard? So even when I have ideas that I think could be a valuable contribution, I tend to stay quiet because I don't want to fall into the situation where people are questioning, is she good enough to be here? Is she deserving of this? But immediately, my goal is to make sure that in every single meeting that I attend, I ask at least one question and I contribute one thought. So, whether that's an idea or some feedback for someone, but making sure that I'm being heard and that people are getting to see what I bring to the workplace. My second action is relationship building with my supervisors. Something that I've always found really intimidating is having casual conversations with people who are higher up than me. So, like my supervisors, or even like the coordinators or owners of the building. So, currently in the art school I work at, everyone is very approachable and very friendly, but I tend to just stay on the quiet side and have little pleasantries, but nothing beyond that. So my goal is to at least once a week, whenever I'm at the school and I'm walking by the supervisor's offices, and obviously they're not in a meeting or doing something else, to go and make some connections, talk about a lesson plan that I have in mind, share some pictures of student work, things that they love to see and will really help get help them get to know me better as an employee, and as a person overall. So then the third action here is proposing an idea to improve the classroom environment. So because of the nature of the school that I work in, we all share classrooms. So we're constantly revolving around and we don't really have our own setup or, we try not to get in each other's way of how the layout of the room is. That being said, I have experience with running my own classroom. So I do have a lot of thoughts about how efficiency could be improved in the classroom, such as storage closets, access to materials, what students have access to for each class. And this is something that in about a month or so, I want to come up with a more solid plan that I can propose to my supervisors and get approval to spend a day really organizing the two classrooms that I spend most of my time in, not only to help myself, but to help the other instructors who also utilize the space. So, to wrap everything up, I have really enjoyed this semester of getting to learn more about leadership, finding my voice, and really putting a name to all of those values that I've had. And of course, I'm really looking forward to improving myself, focusing on that time optimization, finding a work-life balance through that hierarchical planning, and trusting my own skills, building my own confidence. So, thank you.